Hello and welcome to the third in this series of video shorts that Dora and I have put together to give you some ideas about your group teaching online. Now, last time I talked about piano relays and how they can be used in your lessons. Today I'm going to talk about call and response. Now, this is another structural technique that we can use to enable students to play with each other and to interact with each other during their performing. So we're going to think about how we can use these songs in our online lessons, who can we use call and response with, and how much planning is involved in using call and response. There's definitely a little bit more in some ways than with the piano relay, because with the piano relay you could take any piece that you're learning and push it into a relay. But I'm going to also go through a type of call and response that doesn't need any planning at all. So there are two types. The first is improvised and the second is pre-planned. So with the improvised, you are going to be just playing, clapping a rhythm or a melody that you just make up on the spot and they can copy you. So for the improvised call and response, there's no planning needed. It can be for any age or ability, because you essentially are going to, whatever you ask them to copy will be pitched at their level, whether it just be a rhythm, which by the way I would do on the piano on one note rather than clapping, just because it's clearer, or whether it be a whole melody, or whether it be chords, or whether it be a cadence, or you're just pitching it to the students you have on in your lesson. So no planning needed, any age or ability. You can differentiate your call even within the same class. If you know that someone actually could take a bit more of a challenge, you might include more notes in your melody or a syncopated rhythm. If you think that someone might need you to do something slightly more basic, then you can do that as well. So knowing your kids in your class, you can change your call depending on them. You want to think about the learning aims. So if you're teaching rhythms, or if you're teaching, for example, in this class I'm about to show you, we're talking about the blues. So my learning aims are to think about blue notes, to think about syncopation, and to think about improvisation. So everything that I'm doing here within this part of the lesson is teaching them about that, and those are the learning aims. So I'm just going to show you this video. And this is where I am doing a call and they are copying me, okay? And then I ask them to do a call and ask a friend to copy them. And you'll see it's very interesting how this goes. And then at the end, I ask them to improvise their response. Syncopated rhythm, but also to take your C and your E flat, which is the black key just below E. Okay, let me just move this so I can see more people. And I'm going to unmute you one by one and ask you to copy me. Okay, so Aidan, here we go. I'm going to play a little tune with C and E flat in there. I want you to copy me after I've done it, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Well done, Aidan. Okay, before I continue, I just want to point out that when I do a call, I'm counting in for them. So I'm counting in for my one, and then I count in for their one. And that just helps with this kind of the technology and the sound being quite poor. That just helps the sound kind of catch up, and it makes it super clear. So make sure you're counting in for both yourself and for them. Let's have Katie. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Hold that second one down. Miranda. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Very good, Miranda. And who else we got? Let's go for Freya. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4. Oh, Freya, I was a bit mean actually. I started on the E flat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Nice articulation there. And last but not least, let's have Joseph. You ready? Oh, hang on, we're having a muting battle. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Okay, so what I want you to do, if I give you a couple of minutes, can you try and make up your own little tune with just those 2 notes that you can play for a friend to play back to you? Okay, make up your own. Try and make the rhythm syncopated. Lost my word there. So far they have copied a rhythm melody that I did for each of them. I didn't play you all of them because there were 8 in this class and that would have taken a very long time. Now I've given them a couple of minutes, had them all on mute. I've given them a couple of minutes to practice their own one to do for a friend. Okay, and this is what happened. Again, I'm not playing all of them. Okay, who'd like to go first? Freya! Hang on, let me just find my mouse cursor. There we go. Okay, Freya, who would you like to play to?
Bailey.
Bailey. Okay, Bailey, I'm going to unmute you as well, so have a listen. Try and count in and make it really clear what your rhythm is, okay?
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Go for it, Bailey. Another C at the end. Very good. That was pretty good, wasn't it, Freya? We just need to work on our kind of syncopation a little bit, Bailey. Okay, so just making sure that you're going against the beat a little bit more. Well done. Very nice rhythm, Freya. And who would you like to play for, Bailey?
Freya.
You'd like to play for Freya? Okay, go for it. Very good, Freya. Well done, Bailey. Lovely melody. Who else would like to go? Miranda, who would you like to play yours?
Joseph.
Joseph, here you go. Oh, unmute you. Go for it. Oh, I think there are a couple.
I didn't hear all of it.
Okay, try again.
That's the stuff I heard.
What do you think, Miranda? That close enough?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, you're very kind. Okay, so that was interesting because these 2 guys know each other from school, and I think the sound quality is, we know that that's a little bit of a problem. So I wasn't being too, strict on if they got it completely correct, especially because when a child does it to another child, like does their rhythm, often it might not be quite as clear as if I were to do it. So I asked them to say whether they thought it was accurate, and that's fine. And it it makes for a nice dynamic and interaction. Okay, so the next type of call and response song is one that is written, one that they learn to play. So again, this is topic work, I'm doing the blues, and I sent the music in advance, and I did, I'm just going to take you through my particular example, although you can find many call and response songs, particularly in kind of folk music and world music and nursery rhymes and things for you to send home. I think some of the method books probably have some in as well. So this is what I did. So I played And then their response was, and then I played, and then they played. So they've learned about the 12-bar blues, and they can hear what I'm doing here with these chords. And then they played this. So they only had to learn a 2-bar phrase, and essentially I went round. So I did my call and then heard one person play the response, and did the next call, heard another person play the response, next call, heard another person, etc. So that worked really well. You might also want to have them all responding, but they're on mute, so they feel like only they are responding. Okay, so you have to have them all on mute. And it means that you can't really hear them, which, I mean, you know, we've talked about these online lessons and what's the kind of the benefits that we're thinking about are really social, aren't they? And there are going to be some musical benefits that are not as prevalent as they are in person. But if they feel like they're, you know, playing along with you, then they're going to enjoy that. And then after that, I got them to do an improvised response. So I did my call, and then they gave me a 2-bar improvised response based on the blues scale. So that's just a couple of ideas. So pre-planned, which is this one, you would need to have music that they can play. So, you know, you might want them to do some practice in the lesson or send it to them in advance. Or more of an improvisatory call and response, where you're just kind of doing oral skills, and you might just want to do that as a starter, or it might form the whole lesson. That's completely up to you. So I hope you found this really helpful. And I'm coming back to you again for session 5, which is about listening tasks.